Welcome to Force Pro Sports Laserforce Podcast with your host, Mr. Mischief.
Welcome everybody to Force Pro Sports. This is an incredibly amateur laser tag sports analyst podcast. My code name is Mr. Mischief, and I am here with Oguri Cat from Syracuse, New York. Bright and early, starting your day out with some laser tag talk. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
Love the jersey. That's the Hidden Valley Sanch, current world champion jersey. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't even asked you how you're doing yet because I wanted to ask you in front of everybody. Man, how are you doing since winning the world championship?
Good. Feels good. Feels good finally getting that one that we've been trying that doesn't have any of the asterisks or the shenanigans attached to it.
Yeah, whatever, dude. I just consider Beans a 3-time world champion now. I don't really care about anything he says about past tournaments. Beans is a 3-time world champion. You're a 2-time world champion. Hurrah. But yes, you all seem very... this seems very vindicating for you all. Like,
oh, yeah, 100%.
The classic question, what did this win mean for you?
A lot. There's a lot of effort put into it. It's a lot of time paid off from all the years of playing. It's just like a weight lifted off the shoulders.
Totally get that. Have you and any of the other teammates talked or hung out since the tournament, and what's that been like?
I mean, I've seen Beans almost every week just going and helping out at tag and stuff like that, but we haven't played as a site or anything like that, so it's kind of just the normal stuff that we normally do outside of tag. Like, I know I do other sports and stuff with like Britton and Abby and whatnot, so I see them often and whatnot.
That's cool. You know, that was definitely a huge thing that I think people noticed about your team is the family connection, the way that you all seem to be friends in real life. There were spouses brought in, quite literally, for one. Like, do you all have connections like that outside of tag?
Yeah, I'm pretty much all of us associate in one way or another outside of just tag. So it's like even if we're in a period of lull where Syracuse as a site isn't getting that much tag nights in, a lot of us are still seeing each other and doing stuff anyway.
Oh, genuinely so happy for all of you. That's awesome. Is there anything else you want people to know about the win?
I don't know, not much really. It just winning feels good. But I feel like that's something that a lot of people would get already, so.
It's one thing to know it, it's another to experience it. Okay, Cody, so thanks for coming on today. We are going over everything we got right and wrong about the Laserforce 2026 Power Rankings predictions, at least the one. This will be between you, me, and Rusty, the show that we did. And every year I take the Australian that was on the Power Ranking show and I don't invite them to this. Why? Because I'm a jerk. No, he's a busy dude. Let's dive in. So we're gonna go from first to last and just kind of give our thoughts. I'll share the screen here. All right. So here we got in first place, ultimately, maybe we could quickly actually, let's quickly share this actually. We're going to go ahead and go a quick overview of the whole thing. So the final standings were first place Syracuse A, second Utah, third Cali A, Loveland B in fourth, Syracuse B in fifth, Loveland A in sixth, Hybrid in seventh, Cali B in eighth, Syracuse C in ninth, Armageddon in 10th. That look accurate to you, Cody?
I'd have to go back and look, but I thought Loveland A and Cuse B were flipped.
I did confirm this with both DK and Beans, even though the seeding may have made it look a little more like Syracuse B would be the 5th place seed, Loveland A placed higher in round play. And since they got eliminated in the same round, that put Loveland A as the 6th. No, you're right.
I was about to say, I'm like, yeah, like
I literally just
it
talked.
should be the other way.
I am such a fool. Yep, you're right. You're right. Oh gosh. I'm an idiot, and I'm okay with that. Loveland A was in fifth, Syracuse B in sixth, and the idiocy continues. So, I want to commend Rusty actually. Yes, he gave a caveat about flipping B and A. However, if we keep his original rankings, Rusty has the most accurate predictions of any tournament on a Power Rankings show to date, getting almost everything completely right except flipping Syracuse B and Loveland B.
Now he also flipped to A because you just had to make that change.
Yeah, you're right. Hold on. What am I doing? Oh, you're right. I did it the wrong way in the first place. So where am I? Okay. Well, what do you think of all the accuracy of the power rankings based on everything I've just said?
I mean, I'm not surprised how close most people were, because I thought the thing with this year is that I kind of said when I was making my rankings that this was kind of split into 4 tiers, and nobody finished outside of where I thought those 4 tiers were. So it was just based on, did you get the order within the tier right? And at least in Rusty's case, he got all of them except the second one right. And the second one was the one I said was the closest of all of them, and I thought would have been the toughest to pick. So,
Oh boy, that is an on-air goof big time. So Rusty was not as accurate as I thought, but neither was anybody else. That's okay. There's some big ones. I got literally nothing actually correct. It looks like does that just make you and Rusty? No, he got Syracuse C right. So Rusty's still the most accurate, I think. Believe that puts him in my scoring system with 16 points. 2 for a correct guess, 1 for a one-off guess. So cool. You definitely got a bunch of things right. You and the community. So just wanted to share the actual standings while we're at the top here. Syracuse Ninja Turtles. I think you get the privilege of talking about this team first. Why don't you talk about what you got right and what you got wrong?
well, I was right that we were gonna win. That's the first thing. But
You were.
gotta have that confidence no matter what when you're playing on the team. So I had to go in with that kind of mindset, and it paid off. Great playing with these guys, like it is always. We had our moments. We had some of our own little flare ups that we've had, like G&D said. I don't remember if he actually said it on the stream or if he just said it to like somebody in like the lobby area or whatever, that is like it's the angriest he's heard a winning team in like any of these tournaments, because we came out of our first game of the tournament, a game that we won, and we're all yelling at each other. And it's like, I don't know if I want to say you kind of need that, but that kind of mindset, it's like, yeah, we won, but these are major screw ups that we had in the game, and we need to work ourselves through it, because if we keep doing stuff like that the rest of the tournament, it's not going to work forever. We basically, it's kind of like got lucky in the first game, and it's not going to be able to stay like that the rest of the time. So just, you can't just sit on your laurels because you won the first game against what you thought was going to be the best team behind you. And it kind of paid off by the end.
Yeah, looking through that first game, looks like you were winning the whole time, but there were a few moments where they really took some momentum back from you. Checking out the cool new stats site. But yeah, I was definitely seeing that you guys were not happy about how, I suppose, maybe you were expecting to come out a little more ahead in that first game when it was actually
There were a
somewhat
few
competitive.
instances, I don't remember exactly what it was at this point, but there were like miscommunication issues and whatnot, and little minor things going on during that game that it's like, we can't be doing this the rest of the week. This has got to get fixed, and fixed now.
Gotcha. If we go to the second game, it looked like it was just about the same, still pretty close. You collected 17 medic hits between those two games.
Came out firing out the gate.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one crazy thing from the tournament was the sheer amount of medic hits you were getting on average. You ran away with medic killer.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I'd noticed the last few months or so in practice that I had been getting a lot more medic hits than I used to, but I didn't really have like a frame of reference as to just how much more I was getting until this tournament. And I'm like, oh damn. Okay. It makes sense now.
6.5 per game average is pretty crazy.
I was trailing off at the second half of it too. There was a point where it was over 8.
Really, it was over 8. That's crazy.
I think it was like going into round 2. I was at like 8.2 or something like that.
It's completely insane. So what was the mindset behind your guys' lineup?
Really, with the exception of me and Beans, who are kind of more, I'll say, versatile, pretty much everyone else was just playing where they're strongest. Like, Lenny and Abby have always been two of our better resupply players that we had. The only discussion would have really been who plays where. And with Abby having come in late and having more experience at medic, we're just like, we didn't really have the chance to practice anything. So we're just going to put you where you've played more, and we'll deal with that as the tournament goes, considering that was a last minute substitution that we had. And Zach was basically playing heavy from the start because that's his normal spot that he normally plays. I like basically when the team was formed, that was like we didn't even really have to discuss anything there. It was like, all right, well, Zach's playing heavy. The biggest discussion was who was going to play commander between myself and Beans, and that kind of discussion didn't even really get settled until like a couple weeks before the tournament when we finally started having practice. But it basically came down to the thought process of looking at stats over the last couple years or so in Syracuse. We thought that Beans probably had a higher ceiling playing at commander, but I'm more consistent than he is. So we went with like the consistency idea, with the thought that we have that weapon in our back pocket if we needed it.
That makes a lot of sense. When you're the favorite, you don't need to do a bunch of crazy stuff to win. If you can be consistent, everyone else has to get a little wild to try to win. Seems like it really paid off, obviously.
Yep. We thought that I was a little bit more consistent at commander, and that he is better than I am as a scout. And I think the gap between him and me at scout is bigger than it is at him and me at commander. So it was more worth it to have this be our primary.
For sure. Yeah, maybe we should go look at the actual finals game. Navigating the cool new stats site. Yeah, I think the finals games were very close here. I also think it's worth for your team looking at this winners bracket game against Cali A, winning by 7K against Cali, 5K exactly against Utah. Can you describe those games a little bit?
It was kind of a blur at that point. 6 days into the tournament, and we were just like, we're getting to the end here. It was just kind of counting it down. It's like we get to the winners bracket finals, and it's like, look, do our job. We got 4 more games. All right, we won that one. All right, look, we just got 3 more games. We go to grand finals, and it's like, look, all we got to do our job here. We got to control Caleb and Snuffles, and we got 2 more games. Go into that last game, it's like, just don't screw up here. We got 1 more game. So it's just, at that point, everything was just going by like a blur. It was just playing on instinct at that point, reading the lights, reading the situation, seeing what's going on, and playing off of that.
So you guys were
I could
really in the
barely tell you
moment.
specifics from either game at that point. It was just full autopilot mode almost at that point.
Fair enough. Yeah, it feels like you're going down a bit of a roller coaster. You just gotta hang on and not lose your feet. You kept it consistent. Let's review these. You got 5 medic hits there against Olympus. You almost eliminated them. They had 12 lives total remaining. Beans and Evil with pretty good hit diffs. Princess with a 2.17 hit diff. So, not bad in that first one. Since you're not remembering, I'm just kind of running through them. But stop me if you see anything you want to talk about.
I will mention, just because you brought it up, that was one thing that was huge for us all week with Beans at Scout, is how nasty his hit diff was all week.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, I think he finished with almost a 2 by the end of the tournament or something like that. He was just tearing people apart.
Absolutely. That'd be really interesting to look up, actually. If we just go All-Star. Yeah, 1.87. Probably the highest hit diff of the tournament. It could be crazy if it wasn't the highest hit diff. Yeah, so you guys took care of Olympus. Looks like it was a little more even on lives in the second game, but you still beat them by 1,000 in score. So definitely held them off, didn't let them take the match. This feels a bit like how it worked for both matches. So you got a good enough lead in the first game, and then second game you just didn't lose it.
And it's funny too, because we went in kind of different than what everyone else was doing. Like, a lot of the games in finals, the better seed got to choose which side they played first, and most teams were picking their stronger side first, and we were doing the opposite. We were like, we're going to get our weaker side out of the way, because if we can win that game, we know that we're going into the second game with an advantage and playing our better side. And it's almost a good thing we did that, because if I remember correctly, we actually played worse on our stronger side in both finals games.
Yeah, maybe, or that could have something to do with the other team, maybe playing with a little more desperation. I don't know. But I was in this game reffing. It just felt very tense for sure. There's a lot on the line for both teams here. And then if we go to finals, the Heat Seekers claw their way up from the bottom here. First game, you only got 3 medic hits, bro. But 10K, Beans with the 1.4. Definitely like hit diffs are lower for you guys in this one. But you kind of shut down Snuffles. That's a pretty low score for him. 1.8 hit diff, 1 medic hit.
Granted, I will add that he did have a little more than that, because one of the penalty that he has is one that stuck.
Oh,
Because
really?
he chased our medic.
Oh, Snuffles. Can't do that. You survived that, and you were fine, and you were definitely going to kill them out before they killed you out. In the very finals, that's what they call it, very finals, they almost killed you guys out, but not enough. And you guys win by 2K and hit in score.
Yeah, I go out and lay an egg on the most important game of the tournament, and it worked out because it didn't end up mattering.
Black Hammer's got you. So does
yeah.
Beans.
And Evil with like a 6K scout score in a game where he died like 5 minutes earlier or something like that.
Dude, that is one reason why you guys won, though, because you went out and you laid an egg in this final game, but it was never about Cody carrying the team. No matter if anybody laid an egg in any of these games, you had other players very talented making up for it.
And like, I could have scored more than I did, but my thought was like, I don't know, I think it was Abby died with, I think, like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game or something like that. And I was pretty much full on lives when she died. Like, she got me full right before she died, and I'm like, I am not playing very well this game. She's dead. I have plenty of lives, so I shouldn't die. And I looked up, and the lights that are on the edge of the arena that show like who's winning were still red at the time.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna pull all the way back. I'm gonna stop bleeding points. I'm just gonna sit in weird angles, shoot people as they come by. I'm gonna stop letting them shoot me, and I'm gonna make them come to me if they want to get any of those points off of it. And I think it kind of worked, because I mean, I didn't score a ton, but I stopped giving them free points. And if you had a way to look at my hit diff in the first half of the game versus the second half of the game, it's a night and day difference. Like I was probably under a 0.5 before we go into that second half of the game. I was not playing well at all until I just started playing like how I would if I was playing as the second scout almost.
Mm. Well, it does look like you guys were winning at the beginning for at least the first 3 minutes. And it was kind of a struggle here. And eventually, when Princess goes out, things really take a turn for the worst. But it's not enough to kill you. It's not enough to go on to the grand finals.
I knew we weren't gonna die when Abby died, and I was pretty much full on lives. I was at like 28 or something like that when she died. So I'm like, unless I really screw up here, they shouldn't kill me. So if we can keep the
Right.
lead that we have, I didn't know how much we were ahead by. I just knew we were ahead. So
That's really
I
smart
was
play.
just under the process of like, I'm just gonna not give them points.
The win is a win. And it got you a championship. And honestly, playing more dangerously could have cost your team a little more. Like if Caleb was able to get an extra nuke and get an elim, who knows? But didn't happen. You guys were smart. Okay, there's a lot of teams to get through. Definitely think you guys deserve to have the spotlight shown on you. But let me give. I had a couple quick thoughts for you about the team as well, because obviously, like things we got right and wrong. Probably the biggest highlight is I was wrong about Syracuse A. I not only put you, I didn't even put you in second. I put you guys in third. I thought you wouldn't even be playing in your own finals. And I listed all the reasons in the show. I said the big ones were you have gaps in your play recency, you're lacking structure, and we're already seeing cracks in the armor from your games against Utah and your own. Well, it's not your B team according to you, but it had a lot of your B team players. Um, and one would think I should have even more reason to have been right about this when something horrible happened and Britain wasn't even able to play, and Abby kind of subbed in. So you already were down a player you'd been practicing with. I'm sure that, I mean, maybe you could speak to that. Did that change the mindset very much? What was that like?
Well, it shifted our lineup a bit because Lenny went from expecting to play medic to switching to ammo instead.
Okay.
And Abby plays differently than Lenny does at medic, and Lenny plays differently at ammo than Britain does. So it affected the chemistry a little bit back there because we didn't have any time to like practice the lineup. So like we definitely felt the difference. And this is not to say like Abby isn't good or anything like that, but like Lenny and Zach were they just felt off most of the week. Like
Mm,
the switch for them was kind of sudden, and it's like they didn't adapt as fast as they would have thought that they would have. Like you could
mm,
I could feel it that Zach was too afraid to leave at times when he should have.
sure.
Lenny was a little bit too aggressive trying to get extra points when people needed resupply and whatnot, and it was just kind of a chemistry thing that changed up from that sudden change, but we worked around it. We pushed kind of through it by the end of the week, and didn't end up mattering at the end. We won anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how much of it would have been different if Britain was still there. Like, would we have dropped the games that we did?
We'll never know, right? Like, I think he's a great player. I I theorize that you guys had some crazier resupply play expected or planned out had he been playing. Um, but it obviously worked. It was enough to win you guys the week. And I don't know if it would have been better or worse if you had swapped them out. We just won't have that chance to find out. Um, so you guys were totally fine. You were easily the best like team of six. You were the strongest team. There were no weak links on your team. I think everyone was playing like a true home field A team player. I thought your aggressive play, the amount of medic hits you were getting every game was insane. I thought Zach was balling out, particularly in the finals where it mattered the most. Um, I remember seeing Lenny and Abby play in Resupply in 2016, and I see that it was still there, that synergy.
Oh yeah, yep.
Especially in the finals game, I really liked watching them from the blue side, the way they were playing Resupply from across the whole back wall, or whatever you call that, the whole blue base side.
Hmm.
Beans shined in finals. Just his hit diff, when you think about how the games were won mainly on score, you look at Beans getting the high hit diffs, and it's like, if Beans were playing average, you guys might have lost those games or been more close to a tie. So, and Evil always there, just, I think he was very stable. He was like a ninja, honestly. Pretty quiet, getting the high hit diffs, floating the midfield. I liked watching him. Oh, and Merlin too. He had a great hit diff.
I'm happy the tournament ended up the way it did for Evil because he was struggling in practice coming into it. Like, I mean, he'd probably attest to this himself too. Like some of the practice games we had felt like some of the worst games I've seen him play in a long time. So we were a little worried with how it was gonna go coming into the tournament, and then it's like tournament mode kicked in, and it was like a night and day difference.
Yeah, no, he wanted it. Now, here's the truth. I don't feel terribly that bad about my ranking still. You guys cut it close. You got to admit, you cut it close. 7K total difference against Callier, and then 5,000 against Utah. And both those teams were getting better and better in their games against you over the 6 days. To your credit, you offered them every advantage. You did not do the 1-3-5-7 seeding. You did top pod, bottom pod, so they all got an extra game against you. It was a 6-day tournament, so they had, as opposed to Loveland with 4 days, you had 6 days to overcome your guys' home field advantage. I thought you guys as people were very gracious hosts and very willing to give up any kind of weird BS advantages that may have been allotted to you. So I think you played very honorably in that regard. But you guys cut it close. I think some of the things I said were at least relevant and put you within striking distance for these teams. But they didn't overcome you. And I do expect that if by some form Utah won the first match against you in finals, I would have been very interested to see what your plan was for match 2, if you were going to pull out something a little more crazy. And if you want to speak to that or not, totally fine. But yeah, no, I was wrong.
I think the only thing that might have the only thing that we may have changed in match 2 if it came to that point would be swapping me and Beans, just see how that went. But that would also have depended on why we lost that first match. Like it would have depended if it was something similar to like what we just like how it went, but the other way where the games were close. The match was only decided by a couple thousand points as a whole. I don't know if we really would have changed much. We would have just maybe looked at what happened in the games and mistakes and tried to correct those. But if it was something like where we got caught out and got elimed or something like that in one of the games, there might have been some movement that we would have done, but it would have just come down to if we did lose that first match, how it happened.
Sure, makes total sense. Anyway, we're like 30 minutes in and we've only talked about one team. We should probably go on to the other 9. But any final thoughts on world champions, Hidden Valley Sanch?
I think we covered basically everything that I could think of.
Excellent. Okay, I have to like navigate this backwards. So actual second place was Utah Heat Seekers. Everyone got that one correct with their vote for second, and I got it wrong. First place. Maybe we can alternate on these. So I think my biggest thing, I had a lot of great things to say about them. Said they were the best team, had the best synergy, best leadership, had put in the most intensity into their preparation, lots of play recency, team contingency, bringing in a lot of the same players from 2024. And the biggest thing that was like against them was frankly, a lot of their player individual skill levels that like they had they had a rookie on scout with cope with it, and like Rockwood, Metalface, Chaser, and Meds, all that, like this was like their second or third nats for basically all of them from what I remember. So like this, you got like the two main leaders at the top, and then bringing in this team that's just fully in on the game plan, fully supporting them. But there's also a huge lack of not only field experience and tag experience. I suppose the biggest thing that I got wrong was believing that they could overcome you guys in finals. I was right that they were going to get closer and closer, but I was wrong as far as to how far they got by the end of 6 days. Um, yeah, that's where I'm at. What about you?
Well, if you remember, I made a last minute switch, like an hour before we did our recording, switching them
Mm-hmm.
from third to second because I originally had them in third. And it's funny because the information that I was given that was the reason I made that switch never
It
ended
was
up even
wrong.
happening. So that I had no reason to make the switch. So I'm glad that I
That's
did.
true.
But it a lot of it was pretty much exactly what I thought was going to be the case. I said that Caleb and Snuffles, out of all the non-Syracuse players, are probably the best 3-hit pair that you have in our arena, and they played exactly like that in the tournament, and that almost alone was enough to bring them up here over Cali. Like, they were playing absolutely out of their minds, especially by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the biggest thing that surprised me is if you would have told me before the tournament that by the end, uh, Meds was going to have way more games at ammo than he was going to at Medic, I would have thought something went seriously wrong. So that was one that I thought was interesting. I didn't see that switch
Mm.
being made coming in, but at least it appears to have, for the most part, worked out for him. So,
Mm-hmm. He's getting typecast based on that name. I can do other things too.
bro, halfway through the tournament, should have just changed his name to Shots.
I know that would have been good. Yeah, I like the innovation. I like the way that the other five players like look at the amount of Syracuse games they have and the amount of total missions they have. Metalface definitely the veteran, but bringing in players with like 1,000 total missions and some of them 0 Syracuse missions, getting to second place is incredibly impressive. They should be very proud of themselves. So yeah, I don't quite remember what Rusty said. If we remember things Rusty said, then feel free to call him out, but I still think he was the most correct. Maybe we can go on then to California. So you would have ranked them second, and I ranked them second, and Rusty in the community third. So you want to start on these guys?
Well, I mean, we coming into it were more worried about Cali than we were about Utah, just because we thought with the amount of times all their players have played in Syracuse and the experience they had across the board, that while Caleb and Snuffles were probably the better 3-hit pair, the rest of the team behind the 3 hits were better here, is what we thought. So this is the team that we were a little bit more worried about. And even with it finishing with Utah in second and Cali in third, I think we could say that we were right to think that way because we didn't actually lose a game to Utah during the tournament. But Cali did beat us once during round play. So I think we were kind of vindicated in being more worried about Cali there. Uh I just thought they were going to have enough on the experience side of things to edge themselves past Utah, and they were right neck and neck with each other the entire week. I don't think any of their games were blowouts until the losers bracket finals when Utah just put the foot on the gas. They broke through right there. Like, these two were right next to each other until that moment, pretty much.
All the games that were Utah versus Cali were really good to watch. Um, two different styles, two different flavors of team and win conditions fighting it out was really cool to see every time. Yeah. Something that was incredibly interesting about Cali that DK brought up is they never were upset. They only lost to Utah and Syracuse A, never dropped a game to anybody else in the entire tournament. Only on practice night against Cali B, and DK said that they were trying out some stuff. So that doesn't count. They weren't trying for points there. Yeah, so I think I was right that they were angry after 2024. They were coming in trying really hard. I think there was a lot of effort and sweat put in from this team. I think they learned some lessons from 24, and they were definitely playing to win, even in finals, like going for bigger risks rather than just playing it safe. I think their experience really paid out. Like, they weren't making crazy mistakes. Their 2021 experience paid out. They weren't like they seemed very poised and experienced. I commented that they lacked some potential congruency and some synergy, being from various sites, not having maybe I wouldn't call their friendships as like rock solid as like the Snuffles Caleb friendship, for example, or the way that some of the Utah guys had that alignment. And they also did lack some of the pre-tournament practice and prep. One thing I will say, so I'm going to come up with a term here that I'm going to use on this show and maybe in future shows. My job is to accurately analyze the teams and assess them and be honest about that feedback. At the same time, there are sometimes things that happen on teams, happens every year, that like, yes, it impacted the team. I'm not going to talk about it on here at all. And if you ask me about it, I'm not going to talk about it to you individually. I'm going to call these kinds of things a phaser malfunction. We're just going to call it that. This team did have a phaser malfunction. Beyond that, they were really good throughout the week. When they got to finals, they knocked down, when they were in finals or eliminations, they knocked Utah down. Won both games, kind of close games against them, if I'm remembering correctly. It was really close there. But when it came to the semifinals against Utah, they got eliminated. California got eliminated, and they had to swing back hard. They flipped Dill onto Commander, and that didn't really work. But I do applaud the effort to try something a little different, to go for a big elim. Unfortunately, I don't know. Like, once they lost that first game, I kind of felt it in the air. It seemed like they were a little defeated and just trying something just to see. But an amazing show of consistency and poised team play. I think this was a team to be feared by all. All right, I'll continue on. So fourth place would have been Loveland Reloaded. My turn to start then. So something I criticize this team for is we may not care about winning very much, and we may have some mental boom. Obviously, also there's like some lack of experience on here. The strategies going in were a little unknown, or we weren't sure if they were going to work at all. And well, I would say the ending is rosy. I'd say that the week was very up and down, losing every game in the top pod, dropping games to really everyone at different points, except for the bottom two teams. But I think what really worked was this team had amazing culture being on the inside of those team meetings. Josiah was a fantastic leader. Where there were emotions rising, Josiah would lead the team in grounding exercises. We were very vulnerable and open with each other. We supported each other. We were open to trying new things and being weird, and it was okay if we lost. Lastly, I think a lot of credit needs to be given to Cody, your laser ball theory, because Sabo and Liz being two of our absolute best laserball players, totally balled out in this tournament, in this arena. Blackout Celebi and Carson definitely have their own laserball experience. They did really well too, for all their own reasons. But I will say, if we ran the tournament back, I'm not guaranteeing we place this high again. I feel like it'd be just as likely we would place down in 6th or 7th, maybe. Eli, stop that right now. I see what you're doing. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I'll mention that I said when we did the original rankings that the quote second tier of teams were the closest, and I gave my order of QSB, Loveland A, Loveland B, but said I could easily see it finishing in any order of those three. And it just so happens that it was the exact opposite of what I had. So I feel like I was a little bit right about how close those tiers were going to be. This team was the one I had the most fun watching, just because of how different you guys were playing from everyone else. And Lenny kind of mentioned that you guys were basically playing like how the meta was in our arena 2 metas ago. So that would be like
Really?
before I even started. So I wasn't even around when that was the thing. But like back in the early 2010s, this was how the way you guys played was how teams tended to play our arena before the more defensive style got set up. But the biggest thing with it is it's such a high risk, high reward strategy, because like if you catch a team off guard or you just manage to just overwhelm a team and just get them on the back foot from the start, it's probably going to end up well for you guys. But because of how extended the offense is when you're doing this strategy, if you guys get caught, especially early, it's just going to fall down fast, which I think would explain why, like you said, you guys drop games to pretty much everybody except the bottom two. Well, a strategy like that would make that make sense. Like, you're probably going to beat some on paper higher ranked teams if the strategy goes well. And if it goes bad, you could very easily lose to teams that you would think you wouldn't. So that tracks pretty well. You guys were the dark horse team that I picked, and I'd say that you definitely proved that to be right.
You hit that, yeah, for sure.
I also very much have a bone to pick with you and Josiah, because I mentioned when I did the dark horse thing that I was like, I could see you two switching to 3-hit at some point just to try to throw somebody off and then go back. And you guys go and do that against us. How dare you?
You're welcome.
Using
You
my
should be
own
honored.
words against me.
You should be honored that we chose you guys to do the flip against. We respected you that much.
When I walked around the corner into Dimebag and saw 4 people sitting in there, and I went across and shot everyone because everyone was off when I walked in, and then Josiah turned on with 1 shield, I was like, oh, you son, are you kidding me? And he's sitting there like, don't do it, Cody, don't do it, don't. And then he turns on and shoots me. I'm like, you nasty, god dang it.
You're welcome. Come on, that was fun. You have to admit, those games were a blast. That's all we wanted.
It was hilarious.
We wanted just to troll everyone and throw a couple in.
I said this was gonna happen, and they did it to me.
We're really a little floored at how betrayed everybody feels in the community. Like, I'll make sure not to take Lions so lightly next time. I'm sorry, everybody. I don't regret a thing. It was really funny.
You made me right, so that's all that matters.
Yep, that's right. Another thing you're right about. Oh, anything else on this?
I think I covered everything that I was thinking of coming into it. I was mentioning that, like, I think between this team and the one we're going to talk about next is that my laserball theory is fully vindicated at this point.
Sure. All right. Yep, here we are. 5th place, level and altitude issues. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I thought, well, I was right about where they were going to finish. Who they finished ahead and behind, I was not right with. I thought they were going to be able to edge out the the B team, but you guys had some players that performed definitely above where I was expecting coming into it, and the strategy you guys ran was definitely not something that I saw coming. They were playing much more closely to the, I'd say, normal Syracuse meta, and it was working for the most part. And like you said, that they were beating you guys the whole time over in Loveland in practice. And I don't know if you guys were trying to do something similar in your practice games over in Loveland, or if doing something like that would even be something that would be feasible there in the first place. But if they hadn't even seen the kind of strategy that you guys were planning on coming into until it came to tournament time, that would totally explain the difference there, just being caught up guard, not being able to adapt to it. But they played pretty well. They had their own issues though with various players having health problems, which is never something that you want to see in a tournament, between Bradley having to miss a day with what he had going on and Ghost having the issue was, what was it, the second to last day, I think it was. I can't remember. Was that day 5 or day 6 that he had the issue that he had?
I think it was maybe day 6 or day 5.
Yeah,
I don't
those
know.
are
One of them.
those are you can't call them entirely external factors, because sometimes you are putting that much effort into your body over that course of time. Sometimes that just happens, but it's not something that you are necessarily budgeting for coming in. But to kind of have those kinds of issues occur and still adapting around it to finish in 5th, because you have a player drop out of finals basically because of a health problem, that could very easily just tank the rest of the team depending on how well the team adapts. So finishing 5th with all the external factors they had is still nothing to sleep over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it should still be seen as a marker of how talented um, and constructed this team was, that they placed 5th at the end of the day, still in the top half of the tournament over a lot of very good, talented, well constructed teams. It's kind of like this feels a bit like a mid range for this team. I think there was still a ceiling that was not met. I know they're disappointed, but like for the amount of experience these players had, I don't think they should feel bad about how they did. I think I was right about their talent. I think I was right that playing Laserball and playing recent would help them in general just be fast, hard to fight players. They have had a lot of group practice. Some of the negatives I had, and I was especially hard on this team being the A team because I want to see my site grow. I did think the arena lacking of arena experience mixed with swapping their positions frequently all throughout the week did not help them. I think there was I mentioned that there was the potential for emotional boom, level and altitude issues in the name. I think that did happen at times. I think communication was a bit of an issue that could have been worked on with some players. There was a phaser malfunction on this team. They did well enough to take a game off of Syracuse A, though. And that, like, I think that just shows when this team was able to hit a stride what their ceiling really was. And that is, these players have a future. They're good players. What they were really missing was really just a lot of, like, proper structure and decision making. Lastly, I think I was right in that I was afraid there would be a number of people with individual wants that surpassed the team wants, and I think that definitely didn't help at times. Like players wanting to play certain positions because it was like their favorite or they didn't want to do certain things, which really hampered their ability to do what was the ultimate best lineup or the ultimate best strategy for them. So maybe a little bit of disunity as well hurting this team. But ultimately, you can't deny the talent. You can't deny there's probably a bright future for most of these players.
It'd be interesting to see how they all perform in future Nats and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. no lives from Jackal in sixth place, falling a bit short of expectations or the rankings here. So for me, I said they could potentially have the best 3 hits in the tournament with Jackal and Zerg. I thought Stu would provide some great leadership and stability. A lot of home field advantage here would be good for these players. And I genuinely thought they were going to defeat my team. But some of the negatives were lack of preparation, gaps in play recency, lacking structure, and maybe confusion around the 1 hits. I think that actually turned out to be right. Aside from Jackal, like everyone was mixing up everything. There wasn't a lot of like building in a solid structure and then building that up throughout the week. In their defense, Jackal had a work situation, Zerg had a work situation, which I don't know if people could have foreseen, but keeping him out of the first game or two every day, and I think just putting extra stress on him, I think it hurt Zerg's performance, and I think the team was really relying on him coming in and kind of playing like the maniac he played like in 2021, where he was just completely carrying that B team. I think if we had Zerg fully there at full time, full strength, that would have really helped them. Jackal balled out. I am so impressed with Jackal. Huge Jackal fan. Considering what he was working with and the mixing up of the team structure, Jackal Commander was always something that you had to be watching out for if you were playing against this team. I wasn't expecting them to mix the lineup up so much in general. I think it just kept them kind of second guessing themselves throughout the week. And at the end of the day, I think they were just out of options when it came to finals, and maybe they didn't have the synergy they needed to overcome us. What do you think?
I think you covered pretty much most of it. I agree with Zerg and his performance being hampered by the work situation that he had. And the thing with that is I don't think even he realized he was going to have those issues with work until like basically the week before the tournament. So it wasn't necessarily something that they were planning on happening. As for like the rest of their lineup and a lot of their changes, like I think Zerg underperforming because of that kind of led to a lot of the lineup changes happening, because at least in practice and whatnot, they had no plans of switching Jackal and Zerg at all, except maybe with each other. Like maybe you'd see a game where they flipped spots. Like there was never really any kind of thought that one of them would not play 3-hit for a game, but Zerg was just not able to really get it going, and I think a lot of that had to do with him just not being able to be fully present. So they swapped him over to Scout and had Fox play heavy, and I think that was doing all right for them for the most part, at least in the games that I was watching, because at least from what I remember, we never got a chance to like play against that because they were in the lower pool for round 2, and that was around when they made the switch. But the rest of the team, I think, was just kind of trying to figure out what worked best for them. I think if they had started the tournament with the lineup that they ended finishing with, they might have been able to edge out another spot, because they started playing a little bit better with what they ended up as their lineup by the end. But it was kind of like the Zerg thing was not something that they were planning for. The team didn't really have like a true medic, so it was kind of trying to figure out who would be the best in that spot, because both Fox and Stu have played tons and tons of resupply and are two of the better ammos that I've seen out there. But Stu would probably attest this now. He can't move as well as he used to be able to, so playing medic in an arena like ours is not the easiest. And Fox has always been way more of an ammo than he's been a medic, so it was the big thing was figuring out who was going to fit that spot best. And I think they figured it out by the end of the week, but it was a little late by that point.
Yeah, I guess when it came to the very final game, I'm kind of looking through this. So, yeah, Zerg looks like he was one of the first ones out here, unfortunately. They did end up with Zerg Heavy and Fox on Ammo and Stu on Medic. Um, for the record, one of these games, according to refs and Stu, I chased Stu out of the game. So just know that there's a little bit of dishonor there I want to take accountability for. I chased the medic out of the game, and it was not called as a replay. But they did so much better in game 2 with that same lineup. Zerg coming back with 6 medic hits, Jackal 6. The 1 life left to survive it. I think that's a very fitting end for him after his performance. And Alex Box is here. I think Alex Box is really did have a few games where he shined. I'd never met him before, so it was cool to see him play at the level he did.
Yeah, him and Fenrir both played better in this tournament than I've seen them play in a long time.
Absolutely.
Like, even in practices leading up to it, like, they both stepped up when it came down to tournament time.
Absolutely. Also, Fenrir just being a total awesome person, driving people from my site to and from the site every day. Appreciate that. Also, maybe saving a life or two. Really appreciate that.
Always good to have some experience like that on hand and stuff like this.
100%. Okay, coming in at 7, we got Hybriz. You can start with Hybriz.
Well,
you were right.
They finished where I thought they were going to, but they made it closer with the teams above them than I thought they were going to coming into it. I mean, I knew that Leech, Promboy, and Glader were obviously going to be the core 3 for them coming into it. It was going to be how much they could learn our arena and how fast and how well they could synergize with the other 3 coming from other sites in a completely different country. And I think that when they made the switch where they swapped Prawn Boy over to Commander, that was a big shift for them, because I think there was a noticeable improvement from that point on. Even if it may not have necessarily looked like it standings wise, I think they were making games a lot closer than you would have originally thought from the way their week started once they made that switch. So it makes me wonder, could they have stolen that 6th spot from QSB if they were running that from the beginning?
Yeah, they very potentially could have. Yeah, I think Prawn Boy is one of the biggest things that, like, I don't know if anyone was right or wrong about him. I noted that he had extreme potential, is what I said, at least in my notes here. I'm sure I said something like that. But I didn't know. I didn't expect him to be able to play at the level he played at. I think what's hard for me to recognize and admit that's different about Brisbane from other sites is they're just built better in Brisbane. Straight up. When you're playing against Rusty all the time, these new players over in Brisbane, like they got that built into the bones at that point. Like that's what they're up against, that's what they're learning from. So like all these BDRL guys, I'm like, oh, biggest home field advantage ever, taking second place in the home arena. They're probably good, but I don't know if they're like this good. No, Prawn Boy, I think I I told him this will be a little hot takey, but I mean it. I'm like, well, I kind of saw a reflection of Rusty and Tragedy in Prawn Boy and Glader. Obviously, Glader is like Tragedy's son. Easy to make that comparison. But Prawn Boy hates losing. And that is one of the biggest things that makes Rusty great, is that when Rusty loses, he is pretty upset about it and will basically do what it takes to become a better player. And one thing I was worried about with this team is that they were going to have a hard time getting along or finding out who the leader was going to be, have some mental boom. And I think a lot of that was actually kind of true, except they all wanted to win more than they wanted to have things their way. And I think this team, apart from just starting the tournament with that lineup, kind of outperformed expectations.
Yeah, I thought they made it, even without the lineup change halfway through, they made it look a lot closer than I thought it was going to be to the teams above them.
Totally. Yeah, no, they were absolutely punching up by the pod play. They were the. How did that game go, by the way, against. I want to look for Syracuse B in the pod play. Let's see if we can find it. I'm wondering how they did.
I think it was 4-2, if I remember correctly. They split games, but QB won the match.
Here it is. Yeah, they split the games. So we can look here. So this was in the pod play. They lost, almost elimed by no lives from Jackal, 1 life from Leech. That's pretty cool. And getting them down decently low. Okay, so they definitely lost the first game, but the second game, they won 36-31. Disco Stew only alive with 2 points. Had they gotten 2 lives, those extra 2 lives would have won them the match. They would have elimed them and gotten 4 points.
Crazy to think that in this match, the losing teams combined to have only 3 lives, and there was no elims in the match.
Yeah. 11 medic hits from Prawn Boy in that second game. 16-17 on Jackal, 15-11 on Fox Heavy. Yeah, absolute madman. I'm just saying it, guys. Watch out for Prawn Boy, because if that kid keeps playing, he's just going to get better and better, and he wants to get better. Cool. We didn't really talk about the other players as well. I think Leech on Heavy deserves a lot of credit. I think he took the style he learned in Brisbane and implemented it well, working with Prawn Boy. Like he was definitely making use of the nukes and playing more aggressive. Later kind of holding down the back line on ammo, a little bit going to medic, the Utah boys going to scout. I think it worked out about as synergistically as you could have gotten. So, anything else on this team?
I think we pretty much covered everything that I thought of.
Excellent. Okay, Sweets and Savory. I had them in 7th, everyone else in 8th, and they took 8th. My big reasons for putting them higher were they had a lot of recent play. They are putting in a lot of pre-tournament effort, doing team meetings, playing at San Marcos, and they had decent amount of experience in Syracuse. But that they had, like, if they were to falter, what they don't have is like tons of raw power as far as their players, and I wasn't sure who's on resupply. So I actually think I was wrong about the raw power thing. Like Spooky winning Rookie of the Year was well deserved. She played heavy for this team when I think everyone was pretty much like, it's Ender or nothing. No, Spooky was fantastic. For a rookie especially. Like, amazing. I also really liked Hallenge's play style. They were very aware of their environment, great at striking at the right moments. I liked the way that they played. Big respect for Ebo, Mike, and Anchovy. I think it was the best I've seen them play before. Sweets was balling out, and he kind of had to. It wasn't like the team wasn't backing Sweets up, but Sweets was just unleashing all that he had been training for the last like 2 tournaments. So that was really cool to see. And Ender was really kind of like the person holding everything down in the back line, synergizing the team. So it's weird. I genuinely feel like I was kind of right about making them my dark horse, and yet I was wrong and they placed where everyone thought. The hard truth is that this team really peaked at the start of the week. They really peaked on practice night. I think beating Cali A and Loveland A was like, whoa, who are these people? And their best day was like day 1, and I think they just never kept growing at the rate the other teams were growing throughout the week. In their defense, like, tons of rookies on this team. Like they were figuring out so many things. I saw them meeting together. I saw them trying things out. You can see the growth on their Laserball team. Like, fantastic players. Running the gauntlet all the way up into the finals game from last place was nuts and embarrassing for my team. So like, this team should be so proud of themselves. They did so well based on what they had to work with. I think they outperformed everyone's expectations and yet still came in 8th because that's the level of play we're at now if a new site wants to enter the scene or a bunch of new players want to enter the scene. So, sorry, I believed in you, Sweets and Savory. What do you got, Cody?
So this is the one that I feel like most should have been wrong. Because it's like they played significantly better than I thought they were going to when I made the prediction, and the prediction still ended up being right, which I think is just kind of an attest to how strong the tournament was as a whole. But like I was gonna say the same thing. I 100% agree with the peaking at the start thing. Like I think they were the first team out of everyone to figure it out. Like they had the arena figured out, they had their lineups figured out, they had their plans figured out at the start, and they jumped up immediately. The issue is once they got to that top point, they didn't really go up much from there. So throughout the week, everyone else just slowly caught up and then ended up going past the level that they ended up finishing at. Because you look at just the first couple days alone, and you would have thought this team was looking at a mid pack finish at least, and then everyone else just slowly cut the gap down, caught up, and then jumped ahead. But you can't really hate on that. Like you said, a lot of them are new. Most of them had either only played here once or had never played here before. With the exception of Sweets, they were all rookies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even I wouldn't look too heavily at the final position because for a team of 5 rookies, they played much better than I thought they were going to coming in.
So with the way that the placement works, I think what it really came down to, as far as what separated 7th and 8th, would it have just been this game right here, this match against Hybrids? Because like if they beat Hybrids, they would have taken 7th. I'm pretty sure.
I believe so, yeah.
So I want to kind of give them credit where credit's due. Like this was kind of your big finals game in round 2, as far as teams that you could realistically beat. So Hybrids winning by 300 points. Sweets with the 11.5K commander, 4 medic hits. Spooky with the positive hit diff. Didn't Spooky have the highest hit diff for any heavies in the tournament? I think that was a thing. I think that might have been a thing. I could be wrong. 1.2. Yep. 1.21. Spooky had the highest hit diff of all the heavies. Insane. There may be some playstyle things I would debate there if that's optimal, but still, that's awesome. High hit diffs are never really a bad thing. Then Ender with the 4K. Really well played. Really well played by Sweets and Savory. Almost won that game, and then in the second game, lost by 5K, unfortunately. But Anchovy with the positive hit diff is something to be happy with. 9 or 0.9 is still a really strong hit diff for a heavy. So I think this team should be proud of how they fought, just didn't win it out in the end. Honestly, Fire Sword is kind of to thank for this match. 1.65.
I was about to point that out, that was probably his game of the tournament right there.
And Vulcan, 1.3. The Utah boys gotcha. Sorry, Cali B. Man, insane. All right. Well, definitely looking forward to seeing these players in the future as well. Honestly, like, I just want to give some encouragement to you all. When you're new into the scene, there's so many things you're learning. And like in some of my first tournaments, I knew there were tons of things I had to do better, and I just couldn't pack it all into my brain. So hopefully a lot of it is just muscle memory next time you come out, and you'll be able to reach even higher. Let's compare the final 2 back to back, if that's all right. So we had the bottom 2 by consensus was Armageddon versus Syracuse Expendables. Seems like everyone just took a side on this one. Most people took Armageddon's side. Rusty alone said, nope, the C team's got it. And Rusty was right. Why don't we talk about both these teams at once? Give me your thoughts, Cody. You were the big Armageddon
So
stan.
I think the matches between these two teams were some of the best ones to watch in the tournament,
Awesome. Yes,
which
they were.
is you wouldn't usually say in most sports that you watch, like, oh, the teams that are going to be at the bottom playing each other are going to be some of the most fun games to watch, but they were, and in our situation. History was made because it's the first time an Armageddon team has won a match at a Force Nats, because they won the match against QC in round 1, and then dropped the match in round 2, and I believe both matches were 4-2.
Yep,
Yeah,
they
because I
were.
can see the round 2 one right there. So yeah, they split games in both matches, and one team took one and one team took the other. So if anything, that shows you again how close these two teams were during the week. Uh, it makes me wonder if both teams could have gotten a little bit more practice, which the Armageddon team you can only get so much considering they got players from all over the place. It's not like you have a site-based team that you could practice with all the time. But let's say in a hypothetical world that both of these teams were able to get maybe 2 months more of practice, what would the results have been like? Because the games were as close as they were, even with the Armageddon team having two people that have never played SM5 outside of Armageddon, which plays very differently than what it does at an actual Force tournament. Like, it's similar, but it's like a whole different ball game playing 8v8 with no show of shoulder. So coming from that into our environment and having no experience in it and having to learn basically on the fly, I thought Papa Smurf and Grumpy did a little bit better than I would have thought for two players with no Force tournament experience at all playing in a Nats.
Yeah. Yeah, look at
Uh,
this 1.8 hit diff for Papa Smurf. Sorry, continue.
Stealth Elf was, for the most part, playing out of his mind during this
Yeah,
tournament, doing everything he
seriously.
could for that team.
hmm
Skills was the backbone of the team for the most, the amount of practice that he himself had been getting just coming over here whenever Stu was trying to come and practice with the B team. Like, Skills had, I don't remember what it was on the stats page that you had, like 200 something SM5 games or something like that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
pretty much every single one of them came in the 6 months before the tournament or something like that.
hmm
He had 90 Syracuse SM5 games. All of them were in the last 6 months. So he had been, any chance that he could that we were playing, he was coming out and playing just to get ready for all of this and whatnot. So they performed pretty much where I thought they would overall, but it was very entertaining to watch, especially when they were playing the C team, seeing how they were going to perform. Now, the C team, they had their struggles at the start, but one thing that I will mention is that me and Zach suggested a change that they should make to their lineup with what they were originally running, where we said that they should move nobody to commander and have Axeman play heavy. They made that change. I don't remember if it was the end of day 1 or like halfway through day 2, but they made that change and you could see there was a noticeable improvement in how they were playing. Like, even if they weren't taking matches from other teams and whatnot, they were lasting longer than
hmm
they originally were, and they were making games closer than they originally were before they had made that change. And the immediate result you could see is they lost to the Armageddon team the first time they played them, which I believe was before they made that change. And then they beat them the second time they played them.
Yeah, I can try to go find that first game. But I think the synergy was the biggest thing that improved when they changed their lineup around. I think huge credit I would give to Mama Bear, kind of just being the leader on field, calling shots, organizing where people should go, get into the resupply, get out of the resupply. Like a team with that little experience really needed somebody taking some of the mental load off of everyone so that other players could just focus on what was in front of them. Here, I found this was the first match. By the time they played Armageddon, they had actually made the lineup switch. Interesting.
Trying to remember when in the week they played. I'm guessing that was probably then, like right around when they had first switched then. So they were probably still getting used to the difference.
Yeah. Huge thing I think was that was like why I was wrong was effort. I had kind of made an assumption that Armageddon's players, based on some factors, may be like a little more intense about this than Syracuse. I don't think that was true whatsoever. I think Syracuse was very much in it to win it and grow every day. I was really impressed with all of them. I think they kept their teamwork and synergy and spirit high to keep fighting really hard throughout the week, which is not a given. So I think they had the better synergy out of the two teams. Axeman on heavy was probably like the most prominent piece of this team that like was kind of a win condition for them in that finals game, getting a 1.3 hit diff. He was just in people's faces. Whenever Axeman went out, he would wreck face. That was even against my team. Axeman was wrecking our face when we played against this team. Dogebuster with like a 1.75 hit diff in that finals game was really cool to watch. He grew a lot. His positioning got better and better. I think playing Laserball helped with that. I don't know. I liked watching them grow. They kept a good attitude and good communication. So I was wrong about that. I had said that this team doesn't really have like a firm carry player for Armageddon. I was wrong. I think Stealth Elf, somebody said he's more of a support player. That's BS. Stealth Elf was single-handedly ripping teams apart all week. They needed him so bad. And I think their struggle for Armageddon, remember, they were neck and neck all week long with Syracuse. Both games were a split match, so it's not like they were firmly below Syracuse. But when it came down to it, I think this team may have just lacked the spread out structure and capability and synergy. Communication was definitely a little less. The win conditions were pooled into a few more specific players, like Stealth Elf, Redneck Tech getting a 9K heavy game was insane. We were kind of relying on the Armageddon players to pick up the game and understand the game, and they got way better throughout the week. But end of the day, I think it just wasn't enough to be firmly ahead of the other team. So
I still remember watching one of the games. I think I was reffing. It was Level A against Armageddon during round play. And like to mention about Stealth Elf wrecking face, it's just sometimes you have stuff that's out of your control. I was watching Stealth Elf attacking Level A's resupply basically by himself and getting in a decent amount of times and doing some decent damage. Like he was doing some work at the beginning of that game. Only for me to see the lights turn white, meaning somebody died early, and I saw the ammo walking out of the game for the Armageddon team, and I'm like, that's unfortunate. Because like Stealth Elf was doing a ton of work, but I also knew like the ammo just died early, so everyone's going to be running out of shots soon, and Stealth Elf hadn't even gone back yet, so I didn't know if he had a nuke yet, how close he was, if he had his bases yet. All I knew is that he had been attacking for so long and hadn't left yet, and his ammo just died. He had to have had less than 10 shots. 4 minutes in the
but
game.
you do
It's
what
just
you gotta
an
do.
unfortunate spot.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I'm trying to see if I can find all the awards before I wrap up, because I think those are worth looking over. But while I'm finding that, do you have any thoughts on the tournament as a whole? or the rankings as a whole?
I thought, like I said, for the most part, it ended up right around where I thought it was going to be. Like, the only ones that I got wrong was the bottom two, which they were so close to each other that you run this tournament 10 different times. They probably finish 9th and 10th in one order, 5 and 5. And then the other two that I got wrong were Loveland B and QSB, which I wouldn't necessarily say you would flip those two teams if you played the tournament 10 times, but I think the 3 teams in 4th, 5th, and 6th would come in a different order every time you played this tournament if you did it 10 different times. So it's like, for the most, even with those picks being wrong, they were still like in the right area. They were right around where I would expect. So I think even with how strong the tournament ended up being across the board, for the most part, teams finished right around where I would have thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But again, this is why I say that the tier-based rankings are cowardly. Stake your claim on something, make a proclamation. It's hard. I definitely sucked at it this year. You did a little better. And I believe you. If we ran it back, I think we could easily see a bunch of things flip. In fact, if we ran the tournament back again, if we could get all the teams and we did 6 more days, how would you re-rank it? That'd be a fun question. Or maybe is there at least one team that you think would jump up a lot?
I don't know. It's tough because I think if you gave everyone 6 more days, like you made it a double length tournament, I think Cali B is the most likely to move up. But I say that at the same time that Hybriz was playing a lot better
Hybriz
than
was
I
going to
thought
be
they were
my
going to by the
answer.
end. So it's like, would they have caught them in 6 days? I think that would have been the most likely switch. But
I
like, I
think
don't know. It's like they were both just improving so much throughout the week.
completely. Yeah, all the teams are growing, obviously. I think based on how the trends were going at the very end, Hybriz had a huge up arrow. I think Hybriz would have been the one that could legitimately been competing for 4th or 5th place if we did the tournament back again. They had some rocket fuel on that team by the end. But you only get 6 days. That's the game. I found the awards. Here. There we are. Okay. Maybe it's hard to read these. Maybe not. Maybe if I do this, then we'll be okay. Oh, don't do that. Okay. We'll go rapid fire to end this thing out. So I'm just gonna say it, and then you tell me if you have any thoughts. Rookie of the Year, Spooky.
I don't really have much argument. I mean, I personally voted for Ender, but I thought there was about 4 people that could have got this, and I would have had no complaints about. I think this was a very stacked year rookies wise. So I don't think this was a miss. I think I have no complaints with that.
Absolutely. Definitely happy with Spooky. I think they, as a rookie, carried probably the most weight of any rookie. But definitely give them a lot of credit there. Sportsmanship, skills, I agree.
Yep, 100%.
Most improved traveling player. I agree with DK. We should have like made the time range different. Caleb doesn't need another trophy. It's funny.
Yeah.
But
so by the way that this award was defined, I understand.
Should have been since your last tournament.
Was done.
Since your last time here.
That's what I said. As soon as I was told what was determining who won this award, I was like, that's weird, because like anything else that does most improved, they just based it off of your last performance, not your first performance, which if you're doing it off of that, then 100% that's the correct winner. But I don't think that's how it should be done.
It's like, hey, who made this award? And it's just Caleb in a corner over a desk. Bomb diffuser, Slaughtermount and Glader. Glader, that's impressive, dude. He was ammo most of the tournament. He got multiple from ammo.
That should be the tiebreaker, I think.
Who was more impressive? Big
Getting
red button.
nuke cancels as a resupply and it's not your own team.
Yeah, absolutely. Big red button tied between Slaughtermelon, Kodama, and Jackal.
That's kind of crazy. Could have 3 people tying for most nukes in a tournament that long.
I know. And Cody, could have been you, but you kept killing teams out too quickly.
Yeah, how dare I, right?
Missile Bait, RNT. I agree. Let's stop giving out these awards. Golden Gun, Fear Turkey. You know who doesn't care about his accuracy? Rusty. Rusty doesn't care about accuracy. Get over yourself, you accuracy freaks.
I won Golden Gun 1 year at like one of the random draws we did, I think in like 2019 or something like that, and I don't think I've ever been close since, so.
I hate you because I ain't you. That's why I called you that. I'm sorry if that was offensive. Melted Gun, Ender. Good job, Ender. I don't know. Did you see him spamming while he was just out playing ammo? I didn't see a lot of
Not
spamming out of
really.
Ender.
At least in the games that I ref for them, I didn't really see much of that.
Good for him. Negative 24K. Medic Killer, Oguri Cap. Good job. Medic on Medic, Fear Turkey. How could anyone remotely compete with that?
I mean, yeah, he was almost averaging a medic hit a game at one point.
Player vote MVP Snuffles. What'd you think?
I didn't really have complaints with that. I totally understand where that's coming from with the way that their team was structured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really liked his gameplay. He was frequently getting 7, 8, 9K on heavy. He was carrying a lot of weight. I think he would be, yeah, I'd agree with it. And then you won stats-based MVP. Well done.
So I have a hot take
What you got?
on this award. As much as I love that I won it,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should change how this award is determined.
What do you mean?
Instead of just picking whoever was the highest stats-wise, period, because that'll be swayed by the team you're on. Because if your team is winning a bunch of games, your whole team's MVP stats are just going to be higher by default, even if you aren't necessarily the reason that your team is winning. Just by being on that team, your numbers are going to be higher. So I think the stats-based MVP should be you take the entire team, their average, and whichever player is farthest away from their team's average should win that.
Maybe that could be a separate award. Because I think this one you see in a lot of other sports, like, you know, who was the Super Bowl MVP? Who was the MVP of the league this year? Partially, it's like if you have the MVP, you're winning more games. You know what I mean? But I do think that the award you're describing would definitely shine a light on players who are carrying maybe the most weight in the tournament based on the resources they have, and that deserves a shout out. Plus, it would usually always be a player who's on a lower ranked team, and the more awards we can get for that, the better. Separate conversation on that. I won stats-based MVP for Nats 2024, and I am no longer the MVP. Kodama now has a higher MVP than me for Nats 2024. I've actually been considering, do I give my trophy to Kodama? And a part of me,
how did that happen?
Because we've clearly changed something about how MVP is calculated.
Oh yeah. I don't remember. I said something because I noticed something during the tournament that I thought was weird, and Russ made a change, and it changed retroactively. So the game that Lenny canceled my nuke, it came up as an enemy player canceling my nuke, so I lose MVP points for that. So I'm like, that's weird, because Lenny's not an enemy. I assumed that you would still lose MVP points anyway, and it was more just it should say own team canceled nuke instead. But he made the change that took that out entirely. So if you get your nuke canceled by your own team, you no longer lose MVP points for that, and that was applied retroactively.
Okay, that's weird because Kodama and I both played heavy all tournament in 24.
Even weirder then.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have affected heavy.
Well, anyways, I think it's an interesting discussion. If you're the MVP, do you only count it based on how MVP was calculated at the time, or do you transfer trophies around? And if so, would there be a day when Kodama would need to give it up to someone else, like in 2045 when we change it again, and now Slaughtermelon was the MVP of 2024? I don't know. It's just interesting to think about.
I think you just go with whatever it was at the time.
But now that the door's been opened, Russ, I'm going to make an episode with someone very opinionated about how MVP could be altered to be calculated more accurately. It's coming, and thanks for all you do, Russ. Thank you for all you do. But it's coming. Stats-based MVPs, Oguri, Cap, Snuffles, Beans, Merlin, Mr. Mischief, and the Fear Turkey. I got to rush through a little bit, actually. I'm running out of time. Let's go with the player vote all-stars. Slaughtermelon, Blackhammer, Evil, Prawn Boy, Do Not Pass Go, and Princess. I thought Prawn Boy was interesting since he played so much Commander, but he did play a very good Scout.
I think the biggest thing with that is they took so long to switch that lineup that, well, he had more than 50% of his games at Scout. And I think I don't remember, did we start voting before finals actually started? I know we started that day, but I can't remember when the sheets actually went out.
I think it was definitely after pod play. I'm pretty sure it was after pod play.
I think he had still played most of his games at Scout, so that's what most people had still in their memory.
For sure. And then the Laserball awards are Fun, the Babe, offensive player, and Sparks, defensive player. Which is not usually how they play in Loveland. They're usually flipped. Okay, those are that's our show. That's what we got right and wrong about Nats 2026. World champion Oguri Cap, do you have any final thoughts for the people?
Come to trios.
Come to trios in November.
If you have the ability to do so and you are even considering it, just do it.
Yeah, you're getting in groups of 3. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. Syracuse is such a great arena. Gosh, I developed such an appreciation for your site in general this tournament. The way that you guys host and how player-friendly the arena is. I love Syracuse. Big fan.
Beans is just happy with this one that he doesn't have to do nearly as much work as he did the last time, because Baden's the one who's running all of it.
Exactly. Yep. Thank you, Baden. Hope it's a great tournament. I think that's all I got, man. Yeah. Hey, for those of you listening now, I'm dating the podcast. I will not be posting very many of these big episodes. I'm giving myself a bit of a break for the remainder of 2026. I moved into a new house. I'm painting and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So we're going to be leaning a little heavier into the GoPro games. If anyone has an interest in commentating over some GoPro games, the ones that Ebo Mike has made this amazing template for, where it shows the stats live as things are happening, let me know. I'd love to get you hooked up and put you up on the channel, giving some feedback and commentary on some of these GoPro games. Gonna try out some different flavors of content through the rest of 2026. That's all I got. Thank you for coming on, Cody. Appreciate you, man.
No problem.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll see everyone. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Force Pro Sports. Subscribe to the channel and get cool perks by supporting our Patreon. Play Laserforce and become part of this era's next great sport.